AITA for staying silent while my dad exposed my brother and my ex in front of everyone at dinner? I, 32, was living what I thought was a pretty perfect life with my wife, Melissa, 30. We had been married for 5 years at that point and had our own house. Nothing extraordinary, but it was ours, you know. We even had an amazing cat named Machi that Melissa had given me for our first wedding anniversary. This cat is incredible, with white fur, immaculate, super intelligent, and clearly convinced she runs the house. Let's be honest, she does. I work in software development. I don't make crazy Silicon Valley money, but enough for us to be comfortable. Melissa was a kindergarten teacher at a very good school about 20 minutes from our place. She was really excellent at her job, to the point that some parents expressly asked for their children to be in her class. Every day, she came home with hilarious stories about things the kids had said. We would eat dinner together laughing at all the absurd situations that had happened in her classroom. We had a whole routine that worked perfectly. Mornings were our time. We got up early to have coffee together before going to work. Melissa had this habit of stealing my coffee when she thought I wasn't looking, even though she had hers right in front of her. She said mine always tasted better for some mysterious reason. Weekends were for sleeping in. Well, we tried. Machi had other ideas regarding breakfast time. We made pancakes, just normal couple stuff. My older brother, Colin, 35, was often around too. He worked at a big investment firm downtown, always arriving in expensive suits, and with that stupid Mercedes he couldn't stop bragging about. Mom and Dad practically thought he was God's gift to the family business. My father owns a fairly successful construction company, and Colin helped manage the finances. Everyone talked endlessly about his success, his intelligence with money, and how he was really doing something with his life. I started noticing certain signs, but I didn't make the connection at the time. Colin would sometimes drop by the house unannounced when he knew I was working late, always finding an excuse to be there. At family dinners, he always ended up sitting next to Melissa. Then there were his little comments, subtle digs at my house, my car, or my job. Never direct insults, just passing remarks about how he could never settle for my lifestyle. But you don't expect that from your own brother, right? No. And every time he said something, Melissa would roll her eyes and snuggle a little closer to me. So, I told myself everything was fine. Melissa and I had plenty of plans. We were saving for a bigger house. We talked about having children soon. She had already chosen names, wanted to name a boy after her grandfather, that kind of thing. We had even started visiting houses with bigger yards because Melissa was convinced Machi needed more space to express herself. I am pretty sure Machi just wanted more birds to watch through the window. Melissa was so excited at every house visit. She would pick up cat beds or toys in stores and ask Machi what she thought of her new room, as if the cat was going to give decorating advice. But that was Melissa. She always included Machi in everything, as if she were our child. I really thought we had it all figured out. Good jobs, a nice house, plans for the future, an amazing cat. What more could you ask for? Melissa seemed happy too. We kept up our monthly date nights. We still cuddled on the couch to watch movies with Machi sprawled across both our laps. She always kissed me before leaving in the morning and sent me random messages during the day just to tell me she loved me. I know this must sound super boring to many people. No crazy parties or exotic vacations, just normal life. But I loved it. I loved coming home to find Melissa and Machi. I loved our little routines. I loved planning our future together. I loved that she valued the same things I did. Yes, Colin sometimes made remarks that I should dream bigger or take more risks like him. But I had everything I wanted. It is crazy how fast everything can change, how people you trust completely can destroy everything. But I digress. That is what my life looked like a year ago. Normal, happy, stable. The calm before everything went to hell, I guess. Do you remember those monthly date nights with Melissa? We had this favorite Italian restaurant called Roma. Nothing very fancy, but the food was amazing and they knew us well. The owner, Marco, always reserved our table and brought that special garlic bread Melissa loved. That evening started normally. I arrived early at Roma because I wanted to surprise Melissa with flowers. She had had a tough week because of an angry parent at school. I was even a little excited because I had found a small cat-shaped keychain that looked exactly like Machi, and I knew Melissa would love it. I was heading toward our usual table when I saw them. Colin and Melissa were sitting in a booth at the back. At first, my brain didn't understand what I was seeing. I told myself they might have run into each other by chance, or that they were planning something for my birthday. But no, the way they were sitting, their closeness, Colin's hand was resting on hers, and Melissa was looking at him with an expression I thought was reserved for me. I stood there, frozen, watching my brother and my wife looking at each other the way she used to look at me. They didn't even notice me right away, too busy laughing, comfortably settled together. Then Melissa looked up and saw me standing there with those stupid flowers in my hand. You want to know what she did? She smiled. Not an embarrassed smile, not a guilty smile, just a detached smile, as if she were waiting for me to discover the truth. And Colin, that scumbag, said, I swear I am not making this up. Oh, hey bro. We were wondering when you were going to figure it out. He said it as if it were a game. I stood there for a minute, probably looking like the biggest idiot in the world. Then Colin added, Come on, you had to know Melissa was too good for your lifestyle. And that is when everything hit me full force. It wasn't just about Melissa. It wasn't even just a betrayal. It was about a lack of respect. It wasn't enough for Colin to have more money, a flashier car, or our father's approval. He had to take my wife, and not just take her. He wanted me to see it, to know that he could walk into my life, take what was mine, and win. He wasn't just trying to steal Melissa from me. He was trying to erase me. My fist clenched so hard I felt my nails digging into my palms. My own brother, the guy supposed to support me no matter what, had looked at my life and decided it belonged to him. And Melissa, she didn't just let it happen. She went along with it as if I were nothing, as if I had never mattered. Every man knows there is a line you don't cross. You don't touch your brother's wife. You don't destroy your own blood just to prove something. But Colin never believed in boundaries, not when it came to me. I am not proud of what I did next, but in that moment, I completely lost control. The betrayal, his smug look, the way they were sitting there, so relaxed, as if they hadn't just ruined my life. Everything hit me at once. I don't even remember what I screamed, only that my voice was shaking with rage. My hands were so clenched that my nails were digging into my skin. But that wasn't enough. I had to do something. So, I swept the table with my arm, knocking over their overpriced bottle of wine, some expensive junk Colin had surely paid for with company money. The glass shattered, the red wine spread across the table like blood, and suddenly the whole restaurant was staring at us. Colin jumped up, playing the outraged victim as if I were the problem. He stepped toward me, talking nonstop, saying I was overreacting, that Melissa had chosen him, as if that made it all acceptable. Something inside me snapped. I lunged at him and shoved him so hard he stumbled against a chair. For a second, he actually looked scared. But before I could do anything else, the staff intervened, holding me back, telling me to calm down as if I were the one who had started it all. And Melissa, she didn't flinch, didn't defend me, showed no remorse. She stayed there, arms crossed, lips pursed in that annoyed way she had when I forgot to take out the trash. As if I were ruining her evening, as if my whole life wasn't crumbling around me. That is when I understood. She wasn't sorry. Neither of them was. I left and drove home, unable to think clearly. Machi understood something was wrong as soon as I walked through the door. She is terribly smart like that. She followed me all over the house meowing while I paced back and forth, trying to figure out what to do. Melissa didn't come home that night, nor the next, nor ever. In fact, she went straight to Colin's place. I imagine he had been planning this for a while. The next day, I received messages that I still have saved because sometimes I need to remind myself I am not crazy. Colin sent, Listen man, these things happen. Melissa and I, we have a real connection. You are my brother and all, but you have to admit she deserves better than your basic 9-to-5 life. No hard feelings. Melissa sent, I was going to tell you someday. Colin and I just clicked immediately. He has ambition, you see goals. All you care about is your programming job and that cat. I need more than that. Then they both started calling and sending messages trying to explain that they hadn't wanted this to happen, that sometimes love just hits you, and all that garbage. Colin even had the nerve to say that the bro code didn't apply when it's true love. Seriously, I didn't reply to anything. I sat on my couch, Machi on my lap, trying to understand how my life had just completely collapsed. The worst part wasn't losing Melissa. It wasn't even that Colin was with her. It was that feeling of being small, as if I had let it happen, as if I hadn't been enough, neither for Melissa nor for my own family. And that feeling hurt more than anything else. The following weeks were total chaos. Melissa stopped by when I was at work to take some of her things. She also tried to take Machi, but my neighbor, eternal respect to Mrs. Patel, a true MVP, saw what was happening and called me. I raced home, and Melissa was literally trying to put Machi in a carrier while my cat categorically refused. I exploded again. I told her she could take whatever else she wanted, but Machi was my cat. My anniversary gift, registered in my name, all vet records in my name. She actually tried to argue, saying that since she had chosen Machi, technically the cat belonged to her. No, that was my red line. Meanwhile, Colin kept showing up at my work to explain things. He would say stuff like, "You will thank me later," or "Melissa was made for someone like me." Someone like him? What does that mean? A liar, a cheater, a loser who steals his brother's wife? The worst part, some of my family took their side. Mom was upset but kept repeating things like, "You know how Colin is," as if that excused anything. My father was more worried about the impact on the business than my state. Only my sister Erin told Colin clearly that he was dead to her. But even with Erin on my side, I wasn't ready for what was coming. The divorce was a true nightmare. Melissa hired an aggressive attorney who tried to take everything. Half my savings, my car that I had bought before even meeting her, and they even tried to argue that she deserved money because she had contributed to my professional progression by supporting me emotionally during my promotions. Nonsense. The worst is that they try to take Machi. Melissa's attorney actually argued in court that since Melissa had chosen Machi, she had emotional ownership or some absurdity like that. The judge put an end to that very quickly when I presented all the vet records, registration papers, and proof that Machi was a gift to me. You should have seen Melissa's face when she realized she couldn't take my cat. For the first time, her perfect little mask cracked. Colin was present at every hearing, sitting right behind Melissa like some sort of bodyguard in an expensive suit. He kept trying to talk to me in the hallways, saying stuff like, "Come on, man. Let's be reasonable, or you are still my brother. We can fix this." He acted as if he really thought I would still want anything to do with him after this. During all this time, he was posting everywhere on Instagram and Facebook about their incredible love and how sometimes the heart wants what it wants. Colin even posted a long message about how true love is taking risks, tagging Melissa. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Machi once even knocked the phone out of my hands while I was getting angry reading their posts, as if she knew it wasn't good for me. The divorce was finally settled after months of back and forth. I kept the house bought before the marriage with my own savings, my car, and obviously Machi. Melissa kept her car and everything she had already taken from the house. She tried to get more, but her attorney ended up telling her she had no chance. And that is where it starts to get interesting. Remember that Colin worked in my father's construction company managing all the finances? Well, right after the divorce was finalized, they posted all these vacation photos from the Maldives. The funny thing is, my father had started noticing weird numbers in the company accounts. Nothing flagrant at first, just small inconsistencies. But those vacation photos pushed him to look closer. Why? Because the trip they were bragging about cost more than Colin's annual salary. Meanwhile, I was doing pretty well. I stopped visiting the family home. I focused on my work and got a promotion because, go figure, when you no longer have a cheating wife and a traitorous brother to deal with, you can really move forward. Machi and I found our routine. Cuddles in the morning, working from home some days. She loves lying on my keyboard during Zoom meetings. Evening walks in the neighborhood, where she follows me like a dog. My sister Erin started coming over more often too. She is the only one in the family who completely cut ties with Colin. She and Machi became inseparable. I am pretty sure my cat sometimes likes her more than me. Erin brought takeout and we just hung out, her playing with Machi while telling me all the family gossip I was missing. That is when we started hearing things about Colin at work. Nothing concrete at first, just whispers, numbers that didn't match, missing receipts, weird transfers. Dad didn't say anything, but Erin noticed he was staying late at the office, having lots of meetings with accountants. Melissa didn't look as happy on social media anymore either. Photos of designer clothes were becoming rarer. The fancy dinners had disappeared. Colin continued to post about living large and the success mindset. But something rang false. Then one day, while I was working from home, I got a call from Dad. His voice was different, serious in a way I had never heard. "Family meeting tomorrow," he said. "Your brother will be there." I tried to say no, but Dad cut me off. "It is not a request. And trust me, you want to be there for this. I really didn't want to go. I hadn't been back to my parents' house since Colin and Melissa announced their engagement only 3 months after my divorce was finalized. Yes, they had been that fast, but Dad wouldn't take no for an answer. That morning was strange. Machi knew somehow that something was brewing. She wouldn't leave me alone while I was getting ready, following me everywhere meowing. Walking into that house, honestly, I don't know how to describe it. You know that feeling right before a fight when your whole body is tense? It was that, but worse. Colin's stupid Mercedes was in the driveway, the one he bragged about endlessly, parked crooked as if he had been in a rush. They were already there when I walked in. Colin and Melissa were sitting on the couch as if they were at home. Colin in another expensive suit. Melissa covered in designer clothes. As soon as I walked in, Colin started with his usual crap. "Hey, ugly. Still with your Toyota?" He sneered. His fiancée added, "And the cat? Still your only companion? Very mature, huh?" I clenched my jaw, breathing deeply through my nose. I had spent years preparing for this moment, convincing myself that if I ever saw them again, I wouldn't let them get to me, that I had grown beyond their petty little jabs. I was about to get up and leave because nothing felt normal when Dad walked in. You have to understand one thing about my father. He is not a man who yells. He never raises his voice. But when he wants attention, everyone shuts up. He has this way of commanding a whole room without saying an extra word. He sat at his desk, the same desk where he helped us with our homework when we were kids, and he pulled out a thick folder. He simply placed it there between all of us. No one spoke for a minute. Then Dad looked Colin straight in the eyes and said, "Want to explain the Anderson contract to me?" Colin's face did a weird thing as if he were trying to keep his smirk without succeeding. "What contract?" Dad pulled out papers, interesting numbers. The contract was for $2,400,000, but our books show only $1,800,000 received. "Want to explain that?" Melissa shifted in her seat. Colin waved his hand as if it were nothing. "Probably just a simple clerical error. I will ask accounting to check." "It is already done," replied Dad. He pulled out even more documents, just like I checked the Wilson project and about 20 other contracts over the past year. The room went silent. Colin's face was doing that nervous tick he has when he is stressed. Melissa was clutching her designer bag until her knuckles turned white. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" asked Dad. He wasn't yelling, and honestly, I would have almost preferred he yelled. That calm voice was much worse. "You thought you could steal from your own family." Colin tried to laugh. "Dad, come on, that is ridiculous. I made this company more money than ever." Dad cut him off by creating fake accounts, by skimming money off every big contract. He took out his laptop and turned it toward us, by financing your lifestyle with company money. The screen showed all these transactions, the trip to the Maldives, Melissa's shopping sprees, Colin's Mercedes payments, all paid with company money via a complicated system of fake accounts and rigged invoices. Melissa tried to say something, but Dad held up his hand. "Oh, I know about your involvement too. The separate account in your name, the one receiving regular transfers from company accounts." Yes, he had found that too. I sat there watching everything collapse. A part of me wanted to laugh. All those times Colin bragged about his financial genius and business skills, in the end, he was just stealing from Dad all along. Colin tried one last time. "Dad, I can explain everything. We can fix this. The company is doing better than ever." I leaned back in my chair, watching him sweat in his expensive suit. So this was it, the guy who had stolen my wife, the one who had spent years looking down on me. I let out a small laugh, shaking my head. "You thought you were a man. Funny to see how that ends." Colin's face twitched as if he wanted to reply, but he had nothing to say. For the first time in his life, there was no speech that could get him out of this. "And the contracts you didn't steal?" asked Dad, picking up another document. "But we are not finished. Want to explain your mother's medical fund?" Little context. Our mother passed away a few months before Colin and Melissa started their relationship. She had been sick for a long time, needed very expensive treatments. Dad had set up a special fund for her care, putting in about $5,000 a month. Colin was supposed to manage all the payments since he was supposedly so good with money. Dad pulled out bank statements showing that all that money, the money meant for Mom's care, never arrived at the hospital. Instead, it went directly into Colin's personal accounts. While Mom was fighting in the hospital, Colin was using her medical money to buy expensive suits and take Melissa on luxury dates. I literally felt nauseous. The adultery was already horrible. But this, using his own mother's care money, was a whole other level of monstrosity. Colin started stammering, looking for excuses. There was a mix-up in the accounts. I was going to pay it back. The treatments weren't working anyway. Melissa was sitting there, her face getting paler and paler. Apparently, she didn't know about that part. Or maybe she did and didn't care, hard to tell with her. But Dad wasn't finished. He started a security camera video on his computer from a fancy downtown hotel. The timestamp showed it was the night Mom died. On the screen, you could see Colin and Melissa dressed elegantly, laughing, and dancing while Mom was at the hospital, while I was sitting by her bedside, while Dad was desperately trying to reach Colin to tell him to come say goodbye. The video lasted barely a minute, but it seemed endless. When it stopped, no one spoke for what felt like hours. My stomach was turning. I couldn't believe how far my own brother had gone in his betrayal. Then Colin played one last card. Dad, come on, I am your son. Your successful son. The one who stole from his dying mother? Asked Dad. His voice was so low it became terrifying. The one who embezzled money from the family business. That's it. The successful son. Then Dad took another envelope, the one that had been on his desk from the start. This is my will, he said. Want to know what is in it? Colin tried to smile, but it looked fake, as if his face no longer responded. Dad, let's not be dramatic. We can fix this. I will pay everything back. Everything goes to your brother, said Dad. Just like that, bluntly. The business, the house, everything. Melissa jumped out of her seat. You don't have the right to do that. We will fight. We will get lawyers. Dad burst out laughing. Not a happy laugh, more like a go ahead and try laugh. You mean the lawyers I already spoke to? The ones who have copies of all the evidence? The FBI agents who are very interested in all this fraud? Colin's face went from red to white so fast, it was almost comical. Melissa started breathing weirdly, as if she was running out of air. You are bluffing, said Colin, but his voice was shaking. You wouldn't do that to your own son? Dad stood up. He isn't very tall, but in that moment he seemed huge. You did this to yourself. You did this to yourselves. Now get out of my house. Melissa grabbed her bag and ran, literally ran out of the house. Colin sat there for a moment as if he couldn't believe what had just happened. Then he looked at me, tried to say something, but Dad cut him off. If you come near this family one more time, said Dad, I will make sure you spend the next 20 years in prison. Now out. Colin left. I sat there trying to process it all. Dad simply started putting all the documents back in their folder, perfectly calm, as if he hadn't destroyed Colin's entire fake life in less than an hour. When I got home that night, Machi was waiting for me by the door as always. She jumped straight onto my lap when I sat down, purring at full volume. I felt like my rights, my dignity, everything was finally coming back to me. But the consequences were violent. The first thing that changed, obviously, was Colin's job. Dad didn't just fire him. He made sure the company lawyers reported everything to the authorities. Turns out, stealing money from a company and embezzling medical funds is very illegal. Who knew? Colin tried to act as if nothing had happened at first, continuing to post on LinkedIn stuff like exciting new opportunities and time for a new chapter. But everyone in the company knew what had really happened. In the construction industry, rumors travel fast, and Dad didn't try to hide why Colin was gone. The Mercedes disappeared first. I guess when you buy a car with stolen money, the bank doesn't let you keep it very long. Melissa posted a long rant on Facebook explaining that they had chosen to simplify their lifestyle and that material goods didn't matter when you had true love. Sure. Next, their luxury house went. They had bought it right after getting together, much bigger than they could actually afford. But Colin had stolen enough to cover the payments. Now, the bank took it back. They had to move into a small apartment on the other side of town. The real show started when the FBI came into the picture. Remember all the evidence Dad had? Well, the feds were very interested in how Colin was moving the money around. They raided his new apartment with a search warrant and everything. My sister Erin, still the best sister in the world, works in a cafe near their place and saw the whole scene. She told me Colin tried to argue with the FBI agents while Melissa stood there crying. She filmed it all. I am not posting the video here for legal reasons, but seeing Colin try to explain why he had all those fake company documents at his home was frankly satisfying. Their friends started disappearing too. Everyone who had taken their side during the affair, who had posted support messages about their true love, suddenly vanished. Funny how people disappear when you can no longer buy them expensive dinners. About a month after everything collapsed, Melissa suddenly contacted me again. A long, rambling message explaining she never knew about the thefts and that she was a victim too. Meanwhile, news had spread that I was mentioned in Dad's will and that I was going to inherit a significant share of the business. And suddenly, the same woman who had destroyed my life wanted to talk. She didn't say it clearly, but the implication was obvious. I made a mistake, but maybe we can fix things. I didn't even bother replying. I simply sent her a photo of Machi sleeping on my desk at the company headquarters. Yes, Dad named me CFO after Colin left. My cat is living a better life than them today, and honestly, it feels like perfect justice. But fate still had its own sense of humor. A few days later, I ran into her at a downtown cafe. Except I wasn't alone. I was with someone new, and she had everything Melissa didn't. Melissa froze when she saw us. Her gaze went from me to the woman laughing at one of my jokes, and for the first time since she left, she looked uncertain. I looked her straight in the eyes for a second, then turned back to my date as if Melissa didn't exist. That is when I knew. She finally understood. She wasn't special. She was just a mistake I had moved past. Then Colin was arrested 2 weeks ago. He is facing serious time. Decades. His lawyer keeps trying to negotiate, but the evidence is solid. Apparently, Colin wasn't as good with computers as he thought. The FBI found everything. Melissa filed for divorce the day after Colin's arrest. She posted a whole message on Facebook talking about betrayal and healing after trauma. Curiously, she forgot to mention all the designer clothes bought with stolen money. She moved back in with her parents. Karma is sometimes very ironic. About 2 weeks after Colin was sent to jail, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. It was coming from the county jail. Colin's voice was different. Gone was the smug, superior tone. He sounded small, broken. The first thing he said was, "I really screwed everything up, huh?" I stayed silent, petting Machi who was as usual on my lap, trying to figure out what to reply. Finally, I said yes. That is when he started crying, really crying. He said he was sorry, that he never wanted it to go this far, that he got carried away by the desire to prove he was successful. He talked about Mom, saying he thought about her every night in his cell. I let him talk. I was pretty sure he had been rehearsing this speech for days. When he finally finished, you know what I told him? The same thing he had told me that night at Roma. Well, that is awkward. Then I hung up. His lawyer called me the next day, trying to convince me to speak in Colin's favor during his sentencing. He talked about family ties, second chances. I simply laughed and hung up a second time. Dad's lawyer says Colin risks between 15 and 20 years minimum. The fraud was already bad enough, but stealing money from Mom's medical fund, that is what really angered the prosecutors. Apparently, judges don't like it at all when you embezzle money meant for a dying mother's care. Melissa tried to play innocent at first. She took back her maiden name, deleted all their photos together, and repeated to anyone who would listen that she never knew about the thefts. Except the FBI found emails where she helped Colin move the money. Her trial is next month, and according to the lawyers, it doesn't look joyful for her either. Meanwhile, my own life has really improved. The company is doing better than ever. It is crazy what happens when no one is stealing millions from it. Dad is teaching me everything about management, and it turns out I really like it. Numbers make sense when they are real. I also bought a new house. Nothing crazy or flashy like Colin and Melissa's, but it is perfect for me and Machi. There is a huge window in the living room that she loves. She can spend hours watching birds and judging me because I don't catch them for her. Life is pretty good. I even started dating someone again. Nothing very serious yet, but it feels good to be with a person without betrayal or hidden ulterior motives. Erin, still the best sister in the world, comes over often with her kids, and my nephew is obsessed with Machi, constantly bringing her new toys and treats. Machi pretends to be too good for all that, then plays with everything as soon as they leave. Classic cat behavior. Dad is doing very well too. He smiles more now that all this drama is behind us. He talks about retiring soon and letting me take over the reins entirely. He says the company needs new blood, someone who really understands ethics. I am pretty sure that was a disguised dig at Colin. Mom would have liked the way things turned out, I think. She always said honesty was more important than success. I guess she was right. Like about many things, I still think back on all this sometimes. On the way Colin and Melissa thought they were so smart, so above everyone else. On the way they treated me as if I were nothing because I was happy with a simple life. On all the times they made me feel small. But sitting here in my office, watching Machi chase a sunbeam on my desk while I run the company Colin always bragged about running, I realized something. I won. Not by cheating, not by stealing, not by hurting others, just by remaining myself and doing things correctly. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply to live well and have a cat who thinks you are the best person in the world, even if all you do is give her treats and clean her litter box. Comment. It's easy to feel angry when we see injustice, but I hope you can look past the drama and recognize the power of self-respect. Protecting your peace often means drawing a hard line, even with the people we're supposed to trust most. True victory isn't about getting even or hurting someone back, but about building a life that feels authentic and safe to you. Shortcuts and deceit can look flashy for a moment, but integrity is the only foundation that holds when the storm hits. Healing takes time, but it begins the moment you decide you deserve better than being treated like an option. Sometimes happiness is a quiet evening, a loyal pet, and the comfort of knowing you have nothing to hide. No matter how much you lose, no one can take your dignity unless you hand it to them. Remember that your value is defined by your character, not by how others fail to appreciate you. Keep choosing kindness and honesty, because those are the only currencies that truly matter in the end. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.